Hi, guys! Thanks for tuning in and listening to my story, and welcome to my world, right? Okay, so this topic I'm going to be discussing today is what had happened 2 days prior. So, if you subscribed, then you might have seen my video prior to, and it was just about the missing produce cart from Sobeys. So this is just in connection to. So 2 days after that happened, same kind of routine happened, it seemed. And it's so funny how the universe works. But after, I took my daughter to the park after school, we ended up going to Sobeys again to get more boxes and, same kind of routine, pick up more things for the house. But it's so funny because as soon as we parked up into the Sobeys parking lot, we ended up getting out of the car, and sure enough, I looked to my left. Something made me look, and then I kind of go with how I feel. So I was gravitated to look to my left, and then I saw my in-laws like maybe half a block away on their way to Sobeys. So it looks as though maybe they needed to grab groceries as well, right? So I'm like, Jess. So my 7-year-old, grade two, she's half Filipino, so I'm married to a Filipino guy. And so, yeah, my husband's parents are coming. So they didn't see us, but we saw them. And so we actually ran up to the Sobeys entrance door, and they have like posts, big posts over to the left. So we're like, hey, Jess, let's go hide there. And of course, she's like all for it. She's like, yeah, let's do it. And so we ended up, hiding behind the post, and I could see the reflection in the window. And I'm like, okay, wait, I don't see them yet. And as soon as they came, we're like, okay, let's jump out and scare them, all right? And she's all for it. She's, yeah, okay. So we end up doing it. And we're like, boo, Anyway, so they're like, hey, they're excited to see me and, us, and was like, oh, hey, what are you guys doing here? And we're like, oh, just picking up some groceries, just like you, whatever else. And so, I don't know, like, as soon as we walked into Sobeys, the front entrance again, over to the left was the produce. I didn't see Nathan this time, but I had to stop my father-in-law and my mother-in-law, and they're just kind of like off to the side, and I said, you know what, I felt like something within me had to like tell them what happened 2 days prior with the missing cart, because I'm still trying to understand it myself, right? So, like, sure, something happens and then you tend to doubt it, like kind of thing. Like, really, reality is like we kind of question it, right? But anyway, I was at the point where I needed to share it with him. So here I have my father-in-law who's analytical, just like my husband. If they don't see it, they don't believe it, right? Until it happens. And so it's like the angels and like spirit just try to say, hey, like, we do exist and this is what happened, right? So it happened there, right there in Sobeys. I'm telling him the story. Well, this is what happened 2 days ago. The cart went missing, whatever else. He's like, how do you know someone didn't just go and use it for their own, use? And I'm like, number one, it was a produce cart. Like, it's just flat. How do you place groceries on there? And like, what's the purpose of using that cart, right? No. And then another thing too, is that within 2-3 minutes, I'm like, how can somebody come and like just take it from when he's unpacking the boxes right from the cart itself? So anyway, it just didn't add up. And so he goes, missing cart. Sounds quite odd. And then all of a sudden he went to this trans. I'm not joking. He's like blurting out numbers. He's like 5, 17, 21. And I'm like, what is going on right now? And he's like, write it down. And I'm like, what? So I grab my phone and I'm like plucking all the numbers that he's like kind of spitting out of nowhere and recording it. And then as soon as he's finished, I look at him and I was like, what just happened? And he's like, he starts laughing. And I'm like, no, seriously, what just happened? What did you just see? And he's like, okay, well, you mentioned a missing cart. So then this vision of this missing cart popped up. And like numbers started like spitting from it in midair. I was like, what? So it's linked to our dream numbers. And so I'm like trying to connect it all. but do you see how the universe works? I'm like, what is this? And he's like, oh, I can't remember the last number. I can't remember the last number. So he spit out 5 numbers. And he's like, I know there's one more. I just can't remember what it is. So I was like, oh, that's okay. Don't worry about it. Obviously, it's not meant to be. And so I said, what are you going to do with the numbers? He's like, lotto. I'm going to play it with lotto. And I'm like, oh, it's so funny how like lotto pops in his mind right away, right? So having said, I think it's the universe trying to spit out like hints and things like that, you know, to us. And it's so funny because I kind of, anyway, I look at him and go back. And he's like, so I said, do you believe me now? I'm not crazy. Do you believe me? Like, all these things that are happening, do you believe me? And so he's like, okay, finally. He's like, yeah, I believe you now. Obviously. He's like, so I'm not sure who did it, but anyway, I'm like, it's okay. You don't need to understand. I don't really need to understand. I'm going to take these numbers and I'm going to combine them all. My mom's, the live-in nannies, my father-in-law's, and then myself. So all 4 of us, like, isn't that a coinkydink that all 4 of us started having numbers come out of our mouths or our minds as we sleep, you know, visions, what have you. It's not a coinkydink. It's going to serve a purpose. I know it is. And I know it's like prosperity in the making. You don't have that law of attraction, you know, it's totally true. You set your mind on something and you do it with intention, with love, and with like everything. You feel it and you bring it to, it'll come true. It will come true. Trust me, it's happened to me, and I'm gonna actually share it with you in the other videos as well. But for today, that's exactly what had happened with my father-in-law with the numbers. I reflected back to 3 weeks prior to, and I actually I messaged this one lady who had sent in a story based on her life and, you know, like a current events and these supernatural things that occurred. And she shared it into the Chicken Soup for the Soul. It's called Premonitions and Dreams, I think it is. And so I kind of Facebooked her privately, and I said, thank you for sharing it because it kind of resonates with me. And so having said, this was like maybe 3-4 months ago, and then all of a sudden she just popped up, like I said, 3 weeks ago, saying, hey, you know, like, sorry for the late response, but it's so crazy that I'm pretty sure I had messages prior to from other people, but for some reason only yours was left. So I feel like I had to, you know, I have to tell you something. And also she starts going to this, you know, like she starts channeling and this is on Facebook, and she says something about my brother, and I said, yeah, I lost him like 2 years ago in 2014, and he says, oh, well, you know, he's coming through. And then I right away thought of the numbers. I was like, wow. He's like, I said, can you ask him what the numbers mean? And so she actually channels to my brother, and she says, yeah, actually it's so funny because he's trying to hide the numbers from me. He's not showing me the numbers, but he's also like commenting that you need to play around with them. Play around with these numbers and you'll realize what they mean when it actually happens. So it's like interesting. So when I thought about Lolo sharing the 5 numbers, it wasn't 6, it was the 5. So I knew right away, I'm going to take everyone's numbers, I'm going to put it in a bowl, I'm going to have my daughter go and like draw out 6 numbers at a time, and I'm just going to play the lotto, and I'm going to continue doing that, and I will keep sharing these videos with you. On that note, I'm going to, I guess, just let you go for the day. And again, thanks for tuning in and listening to my story. And yeah, can't wait to share some more. Take care. Bye-bye.